Hi there, welcome to the Call to Cinema. Nothing I think has branded my channel or is associated as much with me over the years as the company that I'm about to talk about today, and that would be Vinegar Syndrome. In fact, just to give you a little bit of an idea, for the last 9 going on 10 years, I've been covering Vinegar Syndrome with a big emphasis around 7, 8 years ago when it really started to be a company that I looked towards. At the time that I started with doing Vinegar Syndrome stuff, it was the time when a lot of people were doing Criterion or Scream Factory, and I was just a little weird guy in the corner, covering a company that I've seen grow and just become massively incredible and successful. So tonight we are going to look at my entire Vinegar Syndrome collection and kind of go back and see what memories each of these holds. And you'll see some out of print stuff, you'll see some rare stuff, you'll see some different stuff, and you'll see why around 7 or so years ago, for quite a time online and on Twitter, I was called Mr. Vincent. So if that's something that you're unaware of, we'll go through that right here in the Call to Cinema. I'm not quite sure if it was Twitter or it was around the time that I started to appear for a while on Just This podcast, which please listen to and please check out their YouTube page as well. Brian is a great host and a very gracious guy. That the name Mr. Vincent came around. I had been following the company longer than almost anybody at that point, and it had become entrenched in my identity. I liked weird, unusual, strange movies, and Vinegar Syndrome provided that in abundance. So I quickly became enamored with the company. I had gone to Ottawa, and that was around 9 odd years ago, for a Comic Con there to meet Robert Englund and Kane Hodder and guys like that. So while I was there, I went to a kind of this genre shop that sold Blu-rays and DVDs. And while I was there looking through other ones, I came up on a movie, Night Train to Terror, which we will get to, that I couldn't believe that somebody had given this a Blu-ray release. It was a movie that I'd seen. I'm not quite sure if it was a Mill Creek or a BCI release, but it was one of those, like 10 or 20 movie packs. And I was up late one night going through it and remembered that this was a movie that I'd seen a long time ago in a shoddy and pretty shady, not a very good looking VHS release. And even the release on the 10 or 20 pack wasn't the greatest quality either. But it was one of those that it was a kind of a curio that I kind of fell in love with. And a company had put it out. Not only did they put it out, but they put it out with a Blu-ray edition, with what I'd hope would be better quality than I'd seen in the past. Little did I know this would be just an incredible quality remaster with features that I had not expected. And it got me wondering, what type of company puts out this stuff that rings so true to me? See, before that, I've been getting like a lot of the regular stuff, like a lot of the Scream Factories. I dabbled into the Criterions as well for my more, film school side of things. But in reality, for me, like the reality of film school and just my love of films and filmmaking and cinema, it really came from the trenches, from the weirder stuff, from the more unique stuff, from the stuff that didn't hit on the usually on that in the big place in the in that recommendation wall or the top 100 movies of all time. Those weren't the films that interested me, but Night Train to Terror did, and so did its ilk. And from then on, I would suddenly become enamored with this little company that had just recently got it started, called Vinegar Syndrome. See, Syndrome would start and was founded by Joe Rubin in 2012. The very first release would be the Lost Films of Herschel Gordon Lewis. Was best known for his splatter work, but he did some kind of nudie cutie, more raunchy stuff earlier. One of Vinegar Syndrome's original initial objectives was to have more exploitation and adult cinema that wasn't getting recognized, to get quality remasters. And I kid you not, when it comes to remastering and restoring, Vinegar Syndrome from the beginning to right up now are one of the greatest of all time when it comes to that. The at times can actually seriously out Criterion when it comes to remasters, and often with special features as well. Vinegar Syndrome did a few different titles like Massage Parlor Murders and others that would kind of start to go into like that really kind of get into that exploitation territory. But for me, it wasn't until Night Train to Terror that it really hit that stride of like that exploitation horror. Okay, this is where it's going. You might say that they finally hit that, punched that ticket, and they were off. So without further ado, let's start into my Vinegar Syndrome collection, and you'll get to see as we go through the type of films that I enjoy and recommendations. Some of these are no longer in print. Some of the slipcovers are no longer in print. So if you like that type of stuff, you're going to enjoy this. And without further ado, let's begin. I'm trying to do this as best as I can in numerical order, and I don't have every Vinegar Syndrome, so I'm not somebody that has to collect every number so I can have every number along the row. But I do tend to collect the ones that I really like. Now, although we know Vinegar Syndrome for their white cases and their different types of cases where the VSUs and VSAs, initially Vinegar Syndrome did have the regular blue cases. This is Massage Parlor Murders, which is my earliest Blu-ray Vinegar Syndrome. We won't be going into the DVDs today. This is going to be the Blu-ray collection portion of it only. We will be doing the DVDs and working on partner labels in another video. But I actually really dug this one, but not the first time I watched it. This took around a couple watches before I really got the, I guess, the significance of it and exactly how cool it was to see like Times Square back in the day. Now, even as an earlier one, this one here came with a booklet, something that you would not see a lot in the earlier Vinegar Syndrome releases. So this was kind of special. The early ones were both Blu-ray and DVD combo packs, and there's this neat little call sheet. What do you call this again? Right here. So kind of dug that. Going from Massage Parlor Murders, we go into a Ted V. Michaels collection which is a double feature, and this is the Doll Squad with Mission Kill Fest. See, Ted V. Michaels was kind of peeved with Aaron's spelling because the Doll Squad, it's kind of Charlie's Angels before Charlie's Angels, with a little bit more sexiness to it. What's really neat about this is that each one of these, both the Doll Squad and Mission Kill Fest, get a cover. So you can choose which one you want, but since the Doll Squad is the first one, I went with that. We started to see more features coming in here, interviews with Ted V. Michaels, commentary tracks, reversible art, and you kind of started to know that something special was going on. But here, my friends, is the one that started it all. Night Train to Terror. One of my all-time favorite releases from Vinegar Syndrome, and I absolutely adore this one. This has three stories. It's an anthology film, sort of. It's an anthology film because there's three stories in it, but initially these were three films that were partially finished, unfinished, or put together to make an unusual anthology film with an earworm of a song that once you hear it, it kind of sticks in your head. Everybody's got something to do, everybody but you. What's really neat about this one here is the most unusual, eclectic, weird story, which is Greta, is the full movie version of it is shown here. And it is very, very different from what we would get to see once from that short in the film. So we really got to see like how good Greta could be. The actress in it was the only thing that she ever did. She was such an enigmatically unusual actress and so captivating to watch that I really, really wish she'd done more. Next up is Lynn Lowry and Mary Warnoff. What a great combination in Sugar Cookies. In this, Lynn Lowry plays two roles, and I'm a massive fan of hers. I think she's fantastic. She's still doing work today. Again, looks great, and it was another fantastic release from Vinegar Syndrome. And again, back then they were still doing the Blu-ray DVD combo packs. I really like those actually. The next one I have here is the one that's probably best known for Vinegar Syndrome. Like when you think of like it's a Vinegar Syndrome title, this is what a lot of people will say, and that is Raw Force. Raw Force is just one of those crazy, insane movies that has just so much in there, into a wonderful artwork, insane story, absolute like crazy sleaziness, insane and sometimes inane action sequences, and you can't take your eyes off it, not for 1 second. Raw Force epitomizes everything that Vinegar Syndrome was up to this point, and a lot of what Vinegar Syndrome would still be to this very day. Next up was Christmas Evil. Now, Christmas Evil initially didn't come with this cover. This slip is a slip we put out later on. Initially, Christmas Evil looked like this. It was my least favorite Vinegar Syndrome artwork, to be honest with you. But this is one of my favorite Christmas horror films. A viewer actually sent this to me when they started to do, because they started to do like slipcovers for their older releases that didn't have them. And this is one that I really, really wanted. I love the way that this looks, and I will tell you right now, Vinegar Syndrome, you know, if you're a slipcover person, nobody does it better than Vinegar Syndrome when it comes to slipcovers. Next up is what I think, more than Raw Force, epitomizes what Vinegar Syndrome was, is, and still can definitely be, especially when you look at the newest announcements and that got me really excited about like Vinegar Syndrome for 2024. And that is Nightmare Weekend. Nightmare Weekend has one of the most beautiful covers you see. So, you know, I know this got a slip cover, but I don't need it. When a cover is this sexy, I don't need a slip for it. Just look at this cover. Look how amazing that is. This movie is insane. Dale Metcalf is in this movie. Yes, the guy from Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary. From Pet Sematary is in this one here. It's we have a, a psychotic puppet, uh, silver balls a la Phantasm or Dragon Ball, and just an insane amount of insanity and sleaze and nudity and awkwardness, and just cannot take your eyes off the screen. For me, this epitomizes the perfect Vinegar Syndrome release. It is unusual, it is strange, it's known but not super well known, and it captivates you and captures your attention. Next up was Demonoid. This was not one of my favorite releases when I initially watched it. I do love this cover. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But this is one by Alfredo Zakarakis, and I gotta watch this one again because at the time that I watched this, I was working. It was late at night, and I've never gotten back to this one or the next one really by Frightmare, which is one that I people keep telling me I gotta rewatch these. I gotta give them a better chance because they are really good releases. So eventually, I gotta get back to doing that. I was a massive fan of Stacey Hadiak, and now she acts on, of course, on and off, usually on Days of Our Lives, where she plays several characters. But when she was younger, she was in Luther the Geek. Now, what makes this one really kind of cool is that the guy really commits to playing Luther the Geek. Why does that help? Well, honestly, because if you're going to play a character that's going to be kind of this absurd, um, you really have to like sell it. It's either going to work completely or it's going to fall flat on its face. Luther the Geek, for me, works completely. The massive amounts of Stacey Hadiak, you know, not in the undressed state, doesn't hurt it either. She's a very gorgeous woman to this very day. When Vinegar Syndrome did their very first Valentine's Day sale, where they put on those naughty titles that some people don't like to admit that they have, but I don't mind because they have some really good ones. And this one is actually a really quality title that I really do think if you are going to have any type of adult title in your collection, this is definitely one of the ones that should be there. So they did a contest, and at that point, it had been long past my Mr. Vincent days, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna just see what I can see. You know, I'll put my name in there, and random drawing. I won a $50 coupon, and one of the movies that I picked up because it was all the the adult titles. So I wanted to have like adult titles that were important, and the Pretty Peaches trilogy definitely like hits as important. Desiree Costeau is one of my favorites, and this is such a unique trilogy. It goes from 1978 to 1989, the year I graduated from high school. By the way, if I'm going to work in my age, but very well done films. Pretty Peaches is put on one disc, and Pretty Peaches 2 and 3 are put on the other one. It's a two-disc set, and I strongly recommend it. You can no longer buy adult titles on Vinegar Syndrome's website. That's gone over to a new website now called Millicene, which we'll be talking about more on my Patreon channel, um, because that's where we're going to be covering the upcoming Valentine's Day sale, which I have to check on, maybe starting very, very soon if it's not already started. So we'll check on that. Next up is The Bees. This is one I watched with my family, with my dad, with my kids, with my better half, with my cousin, and we all absolutely adored and loved every second of this film. Again, this one is by Alfredo Zacharias, so that's why I know I gotta go back and check out Demon Knight again because you really enjoyed this one. And right from like get go, it's got two of the great Johns, John Saxon and John Carradine, and Angel Tompkins in it as well as the romantic lead. One that my better half absolutely loved, and because of it, we ended up getting the other films that were put out by him, and that is Rudy Ray Moore as Dolomite. Dolomite, the poultry, uh, like badass, just cool kind of exploitation, black exploitation title that almost makes a little fun of the genre in a very kind of like interesting and unique way. Next up was another one from that Valentine's Day sale, and it would be Ginger Lynn in Trashy Lady. Ginger Lynn has always been one of my favorite. So when it came to the adult cinema actresses, one of the ones that I grew up with, grew up with, grew up watching when I was a kid. And this is a really good film. It's really funny. It's kind of a take on Pygmalion. So I really enjoy that. Next up is Rudy Ray Moore again in The Human Tornado. Now, all of these came with, like, it's the original artwork right here. But I just love these poster art so much that I had switched them over for these two. And Human Tornado is actually a Dolomite sequel. It's the only real Dolomite sequel that came out. There's two other Rudy Ray Moore films. Neither one of them are Dolomite sequels, but they're a lot of fun. Going into even more of the blaxploitation one, we got Candy Tangerine Man, which is a really good freaking film, and Lady Coco as well, another fun film. And the nice thing about it too is it lets you decide which one you want to highlight as the main film. Candy Tangerine Man is something I could actually easily see them like putting a spin on today, and it's just a really different, really unique film, and I really enjoyed it. Getting back to Rudy Ray Moore, though, we got Petey Wheatsstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law. This is a really funny one. See, Rudy Ray Moore wasn't just an actor; he was a stand-up comedian, and if you know that, it kind of makes more sense with some of the things that he does within his films. There's a part in Dolomite where he just stops and he does this kind of like this poem, this kind of limericky type thing, and it was something that was like prevalent in his stand-up comedy. But if you didn't know that, then it would just seem like an odd quirk that the character did. But Petey Wheatsstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law, is a heck of a lot of fun. And last, but definitely not least, is more of a social commentary for him, for Rudy Ray Moore, and that is Disco Godfather. Gotta say, I loved all of these here. They all have a lot of great special features on them, commentary tracks, um, just a whole ton of stuff, and they're all really well remastered. Another one of the greats, and I love the fact that is Evils of the Night. This one I actually ended up liking some of the characters in the film so much that I was dreading them getting a demise, like dreading something happening to them. It's definitely a pretty one of the sleazier, more exploitive like covers that was out there. And for some reason, when it was this poster was done, the Millennium Falcon snuck its way onto it. Growing up, going and visiting my dad, one of the things that he'd talk about all the time was one of his favorite actors, Paul Naschy. He did all these werewolf movies, did such amazing stuff, and my dad raved about Paul Naschy. So when Vinegar Syndrome put out Count Dracula's Great Love, I knew it's something that I had to have in my collection. It is a fantastic film, and it's the only time that Paul Naschy plays the character of the Count, and I 100% recommend it. Now, Vinegar Syndrome also started to do what they called their sexploitation signature series. Unfortunately, there was only four of them ever made. The first one by Joe Sarno was Red Roses of Passion. This is a really good film, and what makes it even better is that Joe Sarno is an excellent, excellent director. Um, the cinematography in this is fantastic. It is black and white, but it is truly one of his best films. Number two on this, well, not number two. Though I'm pretty sure I do have number two, so there are a couple things that are definitely missing from. Let's make sure I get these in the right order here. And this is supposed to come later. Just a slight bit later, mind you. Because I have to get these in the right order. Because when I put these back, they still have to stick in the right order. The next film was Highway Horror House on Highway 5. And this was one of the limited edition that is unfortunately now out of print. A great film, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. Just so much fun to be had with this one. It is insane. It is great. And it's one of the two Richard Casey films that were put out. The second one, Hellbound. Another that is unfortunately has long since long gone out of print, and that I grabbed right away because I was curious, and man, did it pay off. Those films paid off in dividends. I love both of them. Next up was the Linnea Quigley, Michelle Bauer, Brink Stevens, Dookie Flyswatter classic, Nightmare Sisters. I'm a massive Linnea Quigley fan, so Nightmare Sisters was really a just it was a given that I was going to pick this up. And as much as I love Nightmare Sisters, this was the true like gem for me. It is Murder Weapon and Deadly Embrace, a double feature Linnea Quigley one, where she stars in both of these. I Deadly Embrace is more of the kind of the erotic thriller type that's done, but there's something really special about Murder Weapon that I absolutely adore, and I enjoy it every time I watch it, and I've rewatched it a few times. Someone else that Vinegar Sam would work with quite a bit would be this guy right here, Rick Sloan, who put out Hobgoblins, one of my favorites of the Gremlins knockoffs. It's just so insane and in a way oddly inept, but I utterly enjoyed it. Now, although it's not here, I'm not quite sure where it is. I was making a video about it. The original Taboo also is in my collection with Kay Parker, as is Taboo 2 and 3. I bought that during the sale as well. I wanted to make sure that I had all of them. There was 4 in total that had made it to theater and that really kind of went together. And this was a double feature that had 2 and 3, so I knew I had to grab that one. Also, Death Machines. If you haven't seen this, I gotta recommend this. This is so much. Look at this. It's insane fun, but this really, really is nothing. Tells you nothing about the movie. Um, it's a fun actioner. See, next, however, would change things. Because, see, up until now, Vinegar Syndrome were doing a lot of really cool releases, whether it was adult, exploitation, horror, a little bit of everything. And doing it well. You knew when you picked up a Vinegar Syndrome film, you were going to enjoy yourself. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. Then this happened. They announced The Undertaker. It was a Joe Spinell film, but not just a Joe Spinell film, a Joe Spinell film that hadn't been put out correctly, hadn't been put out uncut in the way that it should have been. It had gotten a release previously, but not a release like this, not as good a release. And with a release like this, something special had to happen. And that will be their very first slipcover. Vinegar Syndrome would dive into slipcovers. See, the difference with their slipcovers right from the beginning, and I love this bloody handprint on the back, is it was a thicker stock. It was better quality, and you kind of fell in love with it right away. Now this one here I do find to be a bit tight, which would not be the case when their next one would come out. Jack Frost. Jack Frost was known for its lenticular VHS cover, and Vinegar Syndrome would not let us down because Jack Frost's Blu-ray cover would also be a brand new lenticular cover in reminiscent and a homage to the original cover that we got back in the VHS days. It would be definitely the definitive version of this film, and although this would be re-released by MVD Rewind, so you can still get it for a nice, inexpensive price. If you grew up in the VHS days like me and you remember the eras of the lenticular cover, this really was a great way to take it and to really show the love that they had for these films. Another limited edition that has since gone out of print, but I think you can find this from another company, but it's not as good a version. Like it's like a cheaper, non-remastered version. That is the Pete Carpenter double feature Blood Mania and Point of Terror. I love this one here. What's really neat about this is there's a bonus DVD, which was a limited edition exclusive, where it had alternate TV versions of both of the films. I'm pretty sure that they lost the rights to these films completely later on. If anybody knows any different, feel free to correct me down there because I don't mind being corrected. um, but I'm pretty sure these are both ones that are completely out of print from Vinegar Cinema's library. Next up was another in the adult cinema office film by Lane Patrick, and it is Blue Money. I really did enjoy this one here as well. There's just an extra like adult film honor called The Affairs of Aphrodite, which I'll be honest, I don't think I've sat down and watched all of yet. Like I said earlier, I wanted to make sure I got all the Taboo films, and although the first Taboo film is somewhere around there, um, because of the video that I'm doing on it, that's apparently coming out next Mother's Day or Mother's Day coming up now, but was started on last year. Sometimes it takes a while to do videos, guys. I now want to do the entire Taboo like franchise, not the entire like the 20 taboos, but the first four. And this one right here, Taboo 4, completes the original saga and gives a really good conclusion to the series. I know it's not something that you expect here when it comes to like an adult film franchise, but they really do have some interesting stories and acting. Jamie Gillis and Ginger Lynn, John Leslie are really good in this film, as is Karen Summer. Next up is another one that's got Linnea Quigley on the cover of it, and that is a Kevin Tenney film, and that is Witch Trap. Really dug this one. Had a lot of fun with Witch Trap. It's one of those that I used to see in the VHS stores, and for some reason I would always pass it up, but I was so glad when I finally got Witch Trap and was able to sit back and watch it. I'm super excited that I picked up this one because the limited edition cover on this one is absolutely fantastic, and it is Adam Rifkin's Psycho Cop Returns. This is a film that's way better than it should be, and it is so damn good. I love Psycho Cop Returns. Even Sand slipcover. Everyone should have that one in their collection. One that I grew up watching and I remember seeing on TV. I remember seeing back in the days of like the 20 and 50 movie packs was this one here, The Hearse, as the great Joseph Cotton and Trish Van Devere in it. Trish Van Devere. And if you've never seen it, this one really creeped me out back in the day, and I love this cover right here. Look at this one. I almost missed out on this one actually. I got that one in a trade later on. Malibu High. It looks like it's a Porky's film or something along that lines, but it's definitely a darker, more serious film than that. And if you've never seen it, highly recommend it. The first film that I got when I moved from Newfoundland to, well, to Nova Scotia was this one right here, Sweet Sugar. And it's one of the movies that made me truly appreciate Vinegar Syndrome. I'll explain that right now, actually. So you see this here, Sweet Sugar, with the slipcover. I love the interior artwork as well. So I just gotten to go to Bullendry, was where we lived at initially, and I wanted to buy something from Vinegar Syndrome. I wanted to buy something. I knew that I wanted something different. I wanted something special, and I wanted this, but it sold out along with another one called Red Mob almost immediately. It went so fast. But Vinegar Syndrome, being a company that cares more than just about the bottom line, looked and realized that a bunch of people had bought several copies of Sweet Sugar and Red Mob. Now, a company could just let that go because once it's sold, it's sold. They've got the money. They don't have to do anything after that. But they went against the scalpers and they said, "I'm sorry, but there's a maximum of 2 for this." So all of a sudden, There's a whole bunch of these back there, like, and they didn't know for sure that like there's going to be enough people to sell like the limited edition amount that Sweet Sugar and Red Mob had. But they took that chance. They went up against the scalpers. They didn't take the easy money or the easy route, and because of that, I managed to get Sweet Sugar, a movie that I really enjoy. A lot of people were able to get Sweet Sugar and Red Mob. It was at that point when I'd ordered from Vinegar Syndrome and I got this come that I realized, this is a company that cares more about the about people than that are watching these films. That these guys are fans and not just about the money. It was that you can actually go back and watch a video where I talk about my Vinegar Syndrome decision, and that was that I was going to take the time and effort to make sure that I ordered from Vinegar Syndrome and directly from their website at that point on a fairly consistent, regular basis, because I really did appreciate that. One of the most beautiful slipcovers they ever did, I'm so glad I did miss out on this one, is My Chauffeur. I'm an 80s kid, and My Chauffeur is a classic film with the beautiful Deborah Foreman just stealing everybody's heart in this one. Sam Jones from Flash Gordon. Look at this. Look at this here slip. It's amazing, isn't it? Not going to say that I'm not stoked that I got it, because I really am. And next up was a sequel to a popular adult film, which was Deep Throat. But for some reason, they weren't actually allowed to do an actual legitimate sequel to it. So they had to make a film that wasn't so much a sequel as it was a reimagining, a different story. So they did Throat 12 years later, and it's by Gerard Damiano, who was one of the main guys when it comes to directors, when it comes to directing like adult cinema, and one of the ones that the names that you really do look for, because he really kind of pushed the boundaries and tried to make adult titles actual cinema and not just going for the cheapest route about it. This one here looks kind of familiar, and we know where that one came from. Mr. Red Roses of Passion, Joe Sarno, which we talked about earlier, a little bit too early. Right, next up would be the incredible film, well, written by Ed Wood, Orgy of the Dead. It had this kind of day glow cover on it, and absolutely love this slip. And it's just such a fun, weird film with Criswell and a lot of, I'm going to say, burlesque dancers, or some maybe wannabe burlesque dancers. It's to the point where one of the actresses who's playing the lead actually puts on a wig to play a different character. You just have to see it to believe it. Ed Wood's Orgy of the Dead is one that is a yearly watch for me. It's just so much fun. Next up was one that I really like, and this is Chip the Teacher. Now, the guy that made this only made this film. It's basically the only directorial effort of Earl Barton. It actually stars Zalman King. You probably know better as a producer and director and writer for things like Red Shoe Diaries. He did a lot of the kind of the erotica stuff that you would see, especially on HBO late at night. But he was an actor too, and he's really good in this. It's insane that this is the only thing that Earl Barton ever did, because this is quite an interesting one. Remember when I showed you the Jack the Frost lenticular cover and how cool it was? Come on, it was really cool. You know it was. It wasn't the only time they'd go into lenticular territory, though. I kind of wish they'd go back to it, because next up was Demon Wind. And this is such a fun movie. How fun? Well, there is a zombie adult actress. There is also a kung fu magician. And there is a ton to love about Demon Wind. This lenticular cover is unfortunately no longer around. That was a limited edition, but the movie I think still is, and it's really worth checking out. I know not everybody loved this one, but I actually really dug this movie about a samurai ghost that possesses the body of a woman and causes a some murders and a showdown of mystical proportions. I'm not even joking. It's just such a weird kind of film. The supernatural slasher that is bloodbeat. Enjoy the hell out of this. The slipcover is absolutely gorgeous, and the film is wonderful too. There's actually a silent version of the film that runs at 20 minutes long. There's so many great features on all these releases, and if there's ones here that you want me to go back on sometime and like to focus on, we can definitely do that. Another Ted V. Michaels, but not one of my favorites actually. One of my least favorite Ted V. Michaels films is The Corpse Grinders. Wasn't totally for me, but it's not a bad watch. Though I have a kitty cat, so I don't like seeing kitty cats as the bad guys in films. But this one is fun for what it is, but was never one that I would go back to on kind of regular basis. It's not like we're all watch Bloodbeat once a year, which I like two actually. Roberta Findlay is one of my favorite um, directors that I've discovered through Vinegar Syndrome. And through movies like Primeval and Lurkers, this double feature is really good. But more so than that, the movie that has like an adult version, and if you don't like adult film, that's okay because there's a non-adult version on there as well. That is A Woman's Torment. This is basically Roberta Findlay's like version of Repulsion, and I really was fascinated by this film. I spoke about this one on a podcast. I spoke about this one on my channel. This is one that always sticks in my mind as one of the Vinegar Syndrome titles that I always recommend for people to get if they don't mind getting into the adult territory. And even if they're not really don't want to see the adult one, that's okay because there's the softcore edition of it on there as well. That is their director's like preferred edition, so you don't ever have to watch the adult one if you don't want to. Next up was the second Sexploitation signature series, and this is Pickup, otherwise known highly as Pazuzu. Another one that I kind of really dug. If it's a different one, but if you've never seen it, I'm not sure if this is still around, but if it is, definitely check it out. I got this one later on. It actually initially had a really good slipcover with it. I missed out on that, but I'm so glad that I went back and picked up the movie slipcover, not because Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard is just such a fun film. And it's got a great cast too. Clint Howard, Olivia Hussey, David Naughton, Jamaica Vincent, and just insanity. Next up was one that I was warned that it was going out of print at the time, and that the slipcover edition was going. So I knew I had to get it. See, not only did I want to see this film, I didn't know a lot about it, but there was a short film on it called 20 Questions that intrigued me even more than the film that is that's here. But Disconnected turned out to be a film. It's almost kind of pretty amateurish, and the acting and style that's done in, but it's because of that after I watched it, I actually couldn't sleep. I was bothered. It got to me. I can't lie to you. It got under my skin and creeped me out. It kept me up. Next up is Sexploitation Signature Series number 4. I missed out on number 3. It's now out of print, unfortunately. That is Fugitive Girls. Again, another A.C. Stevens one. If that name sounds familiar, that's because we talked about it earlier with Orgy of the Dead. And if you liked Orgy of the Dead, you're going to love this. And if you didn't like Orgy of the Dead, this is actually better than Orgy of the Dead. And I had a lot of fun with this one as well. Ed Wood is in this one, by the way, acting. Next up is Penitentiary, and again, another amazing slipcover here. So this is Jama Funaka's superb Penitentiary. I really wish Penitentiary 3 was out as well, but for some reason, we can get Penitentiary, and it's got some great special features on here. we can get Penitentiary 2, which I do have as well, and with Mr. T and Ernie Hudson playing, taking over the role of the lead villain, and he's insane in this. The villain is absolutely insane. But for some reason, we can't get Penitentiary 3 out. Prey is one of Norman J. Warren's best, if not his very best film. And although I have the Indicator Norman J. Warren box set, I am never getting rid of this edition here and absolutely adore it. Prey is such a good film. There's, I think, a few different special features on here as well that makes it a must-have and a must-own. Absolutely adore Prey. Star Time creeped me out mostly because of the mask worn by Michael St. Gerard, who I knew mostly has playing young Elvis in a miniseries and a subsequent TV show that followed, short-lived TV show. But Star Time has this really strange, kind of cool, kind of creepy presence to it. And it's got John P. Ryan, too, from It's Alive, the Larry Cohen film. Blue Vengeance was another one that I discovered through Vinegar Syndrome and actually enjoyed the hell out of way more than I thought I was going to, because I didn't like the other cover. So I switched over to here, and I'm like, I don't like really, I'm not big on either of the Blue Vengeance covers, but I did enjoy the film. Next up is Norman J. Warren's version of Suspiria, and it's a little movie called Terror. It's one that I dug a bit at first, enjoyed it a lot more the second time I saw it, and really got into it the third time. So that's why it always is a good idea sometimes too, when you're going through like a film and you're not quite sure, to put it aside and come back to it a little bit later, because often I find that when you got something in your collection and you actually own it, you'll go back to it again, or I will anyway, to because you have to want to, if you pay for something, you want to give it another chance. You want to see if it's something that just didn't stick with you at that time, or if it's just a movie that you're not going to like. You want to curate it out of your collection. Luckily, Terror is one of those that I'm really glad I got, and I'm glad I got on both the Indicator box set and in its Vinegar Syndrome edition. Bothering me, so before I went any further, Taboo, the K Park original, right here. I knew I had it there somewhere, so I had to stop the video and just see exactly where I had that one put. Now, next up, make sure I got these in the right order here, is Bloodhook. What's super cool about this one is it's the uncut version of Bloodhook, and it was a film done by Jim Malone, who is probably best known for Mystery Science Theater. He worked on that a lot, though there was a rift between him and some other people on Mystery Science Theater. The classic and kind of the start of the whole blaxploitation genre, but it's very different than what the blaxploitation genre would become. It's very much an art house film in a way, and that is Melvin Van Peebles' Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. It is an absolutely stunning film with an opening that does really kind of make you cringe a bit. Now, on DVD, I had Runaway Nightmare. On Blu-ray, well, actually, when I actually talked about the Runaway Nightmare one, I talked about Mike Cartel and the fact that there was a film that I really wanted to see Vinegar Syndrome put out, and I hoped that they would one day put it out. And Vinegar Syndrome didn't disappoint me, because they did. Pets is one of my favorite releases from Vinegar Syndrome. It's strange and unusual. It's odd, but my mom used to own and run a convenience store, and we had a whole bunch of like VHS that we used to rent out there. And Pets was one of those. I used to watch that one a lot. Next up is an odd one, and that is Deadly Daphne's Revenge, aka The Hunting Season. Honestly, not one of my favorites from Vinegar Syndrome, but one that I liked the first time I saw it, and I think I liked it a lot more the second time. Though I think I expected something different from than what I ended up getting. You're probably going to see a lot more slipcovers throughout these now, because this is my slipcover era for Vinegar Syndrome. Next up was Blood Theater. Again, another Rick Sloan one. I told you the name was going to come up again. But not just one Rick Sloan, it's two because it's Blood Theater and it has a double feature one here called The Visitants. And both of these have special features, and I recommend that you check this one out. It's a lot of fun. House of the Dead was another one that I enjoyed. It was weird and it's an unusual sort of, I guess, anthology film. But again, it's something that you could only see a company like Vinegar Syndrome put out and do this type of work with it. And again, love the cover. It was amazing. All right, next up is Dear Dead Delilah. And I love these type of films. This had a, if I remember correctly, this had a decent cast too. Yeah, because we got it's this is when the Southern Gothic styles. I love Southern Gothic films. So we got Jack Clemens in here, Roger Gentry, of course, from All My Children, Real Gear from the Waltons, Dennis Patrick, who was in Dallas, Agnes Moorehead was in this one. So such a good little film. If you haven't never checked it out, I recommend that you do. I found the next one at Bay Street Video, and if you ever hear the music that comes on at the beginning of that kind of sting, that Vinegar Syndrome sting, this is the movie that comes from Wonder Woman, and again another really really fun film. If you haven't checked it out, you really should. Ross Hagen in Wonder Woman really needs to be checked out. One of my favorite slips that they ever put out with Vinegar Syndrome was this one here. Now, the movie itself, I think, was made for like $5,000 and $15,000. There we go, which is an insanely cheap amount to make a movie from. Um, but it was actually pretty cool, and they gave it this kind of retro, almost Robert Crumb-esque indie comic book cover, and it's shot, and I really, really love this here. Next up is The Killing Kind. Again, another one that just it's a thriller. It's haunting. It's great. It's fantastic, and I love everything about it. Same as I do with the next one, Blood Harvest. If you've never seen Blood Harvest, it's such a good film, and it would surprise you that we got Peter Krause in here. So yeah, that was a big surprise. For me, it was a Tiny Tim movie where he did the Marvelous Merville song, and it's not a haunting cover. Next up is another favorite one that I talked about previously, and it's one of my top Vinegar Syndrome releases. That is The Incubus. Such a good movie. Just go in blind. It's even if you read the book, it's different than the book, and I really, really enjoyed this one here. John Cassavetes is great in this, and absolutely adore The Incubus. Next up is another of my favorites, and this one is a exploitation one, and it is the tense thriller, kind of with a really nihilistic twist to it, Sudden Fury. If you've never seen this movie, just go in blind, watch this one, and trust me, you will enjoy it. It is a really, really good film and an amazing piece of cinema. Jill Schoelen was one of my big crushes back in the day, and here she is with Brad Pitt and Donovan Leitch, and Leitch in, oh, and of course, Rod McDowell and Martin Mull in Cutting Class. The ending scene is a bit groan worthy, and the wrong person plays the killer, but really, really enjoyed this. Not that the guy who plays killer did a bad job, it's just I really think they should have twisted it and made the other person the killer. But it's one that I truly enjoy. We're back to Norma J. Warren territory again with Bloody New Year. I love this one. It's such a fun film. And if you've never seen it, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Ghost story, time travel, maybe a bit of both. And from Norman J. Warren to Graydon Clark with Uninvited. This is so cool. It is a monster movie with a really good cast. And Graydon Clark always got a really good cast in his films. On this one here, we got George Kennedy, Alex Cord, Clu Gallagher, Tony Hudson just look at this. It's utter insanity. This movie here by Rolf Koninsky was one that I used to talk about on my channel that I and how talk about how much I loved it, how much it kind of inspired me, and how much I hoped someday some company will be smart enough to put it out on Blu-ray. Well, that company was Vinegar Syndrome. It was during a live video that one of my viewers let me know, hey, Vinegar Syndrome is doing it. They're putting out the movie that you keep talking about. And that is There's Nothing Out There. Just such a cool meta horror release. If you've never seen it, it's hilarious, and I definitely do recommend it. Next up is another really fun one, and that is Splatter University. Although she's not in the movie, Elizabeth Caton was the model for the cover of this one here. It's such a strange tonal movie because it was kind of like shot and then they like reshot some aspects of it and put like two movies, kind of Frankenstein them together. But it's really good, and I really, really enjoy this. Here's one that took me a while to get into, though. I watched this one for a podcast that I did just to this, and I watched like I think like at least 3 or 4 times. First time I was like, I'm not going to get through this, but it's another great and color classic with George Kennedy, Joe Don Baker, an early appearance of Andrew Dice Clay, with Stella Stevens, the beautiful Julia Duffy, and Wacko won me over. It really, really did. And there's the thing: a lot of Vinegar Syndrome movies, you're like, I'm not sure. Is this one for me? Do I really want to watch this? And then you get into it and you're like, how have I not watched this before? How is this not something that has been part of my life for the entirety? How come it's taken me so long to find this? And Vinegar Syndrome has done that for me more than I think any other company. We're really starting to slip cover territory here because next up is Party Line. This is a favorite Vinegar Syndrome release of mine that I definitely recommend to anybody that hasn't seen it. I enjoy the heck out of this one. Leif Garrett is really good in this, and there's the original cover. Richard Hatch, Richard Roundtree, Sean Weatherly. Amazing this one here, and she's much more likable in this one than she was in Mind Games. Next up is Battle for Lost Planets, but not just Battle for Lost Planets, but also Mutant More. It is a double feature, and it's a fun little one. You'll have a lot of fun if you haven't seen it. Then is Dominique is Dead, or is she? Dominique is a really cool little film. Cliff Robinson's this one. Gene Simmons, Jenny Agutter is in her, as is Simon Ward, Judy Geeson, and a wonderful cast. And again, another one of those kind of like almost, I would put this along sort of like the Southern Gothic, like thriller territory. Nico Mastorakis in The Cold of Night is one of those that should not be slept on. I really enjoyed the hell of this one. Again, the cast for this one here: Jeff Lester, Adrian Sachs, Shannon Tweed, Tippi Hedren, Mark Singer, Brian Thompson, David Soul, the late David Soul is in this one as well. And really, really like this one. Brian Thompson really steals the show as the friend. And if you've never seen it, it's definitely a treat to behold and to watch. Next up is an Andy Milligan one. And I don't talk a lot on Andy Milligan, but this is one of the adult ones that he did. And, we got like Harry Reams in this one as well. But he didn't want to make an adult film, wanted to make an actual like serious character film, like a drama, a study, a different kind of like dark serious study, and he really did it with Fleshpound on 42nd Street. It doesn't come off as your regular adult film. The people in the movie sound like they're talking. Sounds like what you'd hear on the street rather than something that somebody scripted. It is amazingly well done in that way, and it's something that I was always very impressed by. The next one is one that kind of haunted me, and it's often been called a giallo, but I don't really see it as one. It's more of a thriller in my opinion, and that is The Corruption of Chris Miller. It definitely starts out with very much a giallo-esque sequence with a haunting, kind of like a Charlie Chaplin-esque killer, and the movie itself runs into thriller territory with just some amazing performances, and In my opinion, a bit of a shocker for the ending. We get Gene Seberg in here, and if you've never seen it, definitely check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. Or maybe you do consider it Jello. You know, to each their own. But either way, it's great, and it's at no time is that one that you shouldn't be checking out. Next up is Grandmother's House, and again, a fantastic film. One that I love from the VHS days, so it was really, really nice to see this one get a great release. And every person that I recommended that one to that saw it ended up saying, you know, I really like that film. Another one of the adult titles, and probably one of my favorites. Again, George Damiano's name comes into it. Is Skinflakes. It is a different one in that it deals with a guy that is a filmmaker, like a director, and he's trying to get out of the adult cinema. And we get to see kind of the behind the scenes. It's really well done. I think this is the last Norman J. Warren one we're going to see on here. But here is Satan's Slaves. Again, dug the hell out of this one. Some great features on here that weren't on the other edition, the Indicator edition. So if you have the Indicator set and you have these, it's really kind of, it behooves you to keep both. There, I used my big behooves word. All right, so this was one, again, that I wasn't a fan of when I saw it. I had it on DVD from Anchor Bay, and when I eventually did get this one, it's again, it's one of those that still not one of my favorites, but did win me over a lot more than I thought it was going to, especially considering it's one where I was kind of went in a bit kicking and screaming, and that is Mountaintop Motel Massacre. Way more fun than this ever should be, and honestly, I don't like either cover. Whether either it's this one, and I'll show you the artwork for the other cover, but I did learn to appreciate the film. Speaking of a film that I learned to appreciate and a director that I really like, it's Don Dohler. Don Dohler definitely does these regional, like kind of cheap stuff. That he does makes a lot of films with his family included. This is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite, and that is Night Beast. It's just such a cool little film that if you have never seen it, you gotta see it. It's so cool. It's so different, and just an interesting kind of curio and low budget sci-fi film. Next, we got Tab Hunter, Lenny Kazane, and Jeffrey Lewis, Henry Silva, Cesar Romero, what a cast, eh? And the Great Divine in Lust in the Dust. Now, Tab Hunter had a bit of a hard time in his career because he was at the time, I think, when like Rock Hudson was still like like closeted. Tab Hunter was one of those guys that had come out, and it you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it had affected his career quite a bit. But so it was really nice to see Tab Hunter in the film. I mean, of course, I love him from Grease 2 and stuff as well. And just a really cool film done by Paul Bartel. And I'm a massive Paul Bartel fan. So, again, a really fun one. Night Owl is probably best known for being an earlier role for John Leguizamo. Lisa Napoli is in this as well as Karen Wexler. And if you haven't checked it out, I like this one. It was when Vinegar Cinema was going through like more of an experimental phase, and they were starting to do these here kind of like really cool releases and kind of more indie stuff and more maybe some darker, deeper stuff. And we started to see Vinegar Syndrome make a bit of a turn. You'll see what I mean as we go through. Next up is a film by James Bond III. No, not. It's Death by Temptation. This was one of their October releases. It was the October release that I was least looking forward to, but I ended up really, really loving it. So, gotta say. I'm going to check to make sure I'm getting these right. Yeah, yeah. Next up is Play Dead. I had a lot of fun with this one. Uh, it's kind of a, yeah, it's a satanic type of dog. It's got Yvonne DiCarlo in here. Um, but he tries to like kill them in ways that so you don't know he's a satanic dog. It's really good. Another Roberta Finley one, but she was like the cinematographer on this one. This is actually directed by Henry Pritchard, and it's an adult film, but it's an adult film circa like French Expressionism, kind of new wave French, the films of like the 1960s, and it's Mascara. It is a really good film with a brutal gut punch of an ending that I absolutely adore. Next up, we've got Unmasked Part 25. I was waiting for a company to put this out. I was so excited when it was Vinegar Syndrome that did it because this is such a cool release. If you've never seen it, I don't want to say anything else about it except just watch it. It's really good. Beyond the Door 3, it's really Beyond the Door in name alone, as it was Beyond the Door 2. But again, it is a really cool film. If you've never seen this one, yeah, go in and check it out because we got a rope with Bo Svensson in here, and I love it. One of the lesser ones for me, but still an interesting watch, was the utterly insane movie The Suckling. Just it's a strange film, and did I like it? It was a fun monster film. Not something I go back to very often, but it was definitely an okay film. Now next up is we're hitting into the 300s here now. But by the way, guys, Spookies. Now Spookies has two slipcovers. The other one is over there. Um, but what's really great with this one is it also has two feature-length documentaries. Spookies is an insane film that had a lot of behind-the-scenes drama, really interesting behind-the-scenes drama. It's a documentary, like talked about all of it. That is incredible. Aside from that, it also has a second documentary on Vipco, which was a company, right in the days of VHS, did a whole bunch of and I love them, of those video nasty films over in the UK. Candy Snatchers was another one where I missed out on the slipcover, but man, am I glad I didn't miss out on this film. If you've never seen this, holy crap, this is like a dark film, and well, you'll enjoy it, but oh man, will you remember it? There's a lot of not nice people in Candy Snatchers. Next up is another one of the adult titles. That is this one right here, Justine. If you've never seen it, you definitely should. It's a lot of fun. Zombie Island Massacre. I actually had Harry Manfredini on the channel here, a very gracious and fun guy. He did the score for this one right here, and has a very kind of like almost like a Friday 13th score to it. And if you haven't checked it out, you really got to because man, this is a lot of fun. Check out that video by the way because it's on my Exorcist video, and there's a great story behind Zombie Island Massacre on there. We almost forgot number 300 as we were going through here. And it was a special one because 300 was when they decided to do something a little bit different. They were going to try an experiment and see how it went. And if it went okay, we could get more of them. Tammy and the T-Rex was the first 4K that was put out by Vinegar Syndrome. It was an experiment to see if 4K would work for Vinegar Syndrome. Let's just say it went extremely well. This was a big seller. It had the Tam the T-Rex uncut, and I'm not sure if this was ever uncut before. Actually, I don't think it was, but it's a great release, and it's a lot of fun with the late Paul Walker in it, and the beautiful Denise Richards. Just an incredibly cool little film. Next up, we have Berserker, another really, really cool one. Almost got like a Pink Floyd The Wall type look to it on the back. Done by Jefferson Richard and starring the beautiful Beth Toussaint, and with George Buckflowers in a really cool character role here. Berserker is such a cool film. I definitely recommend it. Next up, we're heading to the erotica territory again with the Triple X film, the 1001 Erotic Nights, as well as its follow-up sequel, which I think went straight to DVD, 1001 Erotic Nights Part 2, The Forbidden Tales. I actually really enjoyed both of them. The first one is definitely a higher quality film, but both of them are of a lot of fun. We follow this up with the Deadline. Again, another really cool release. If you've never seen it, you probably remember this. If you have seen it, you probably remember this cover right here because this is a cover that I know it under. And again, another one of the cool kind of exploitation releases that would have been found, discovered, and rescued by Vinegar Syndrome. If you've ever seen Uli Lummel's Boogeyman, um, then there's a better Suzanne, in my opinion, a better Suzanne Love Uli Lummel film, and it is Olivia. For you guys over in the UK, it's Prozzy, but Olivia is the full uncut edition of this. I was initially going to buy the 80 Films edition, Prozzy, but why didn't I? Well, because this, my friends, is uncut, and the other edition is not. Next up, we have Dolly Dearest, and this is one that took quite a while, I think, if it has for the limited edition to sell out, which is insane because this everybody wanted this before this came out, and then people just held off on it. Oh, it's such a fun little release too. So if you've never seen it, definitely check it out. Another contender for one of the most gorgeous slipcovers ever put out was Pale Blood. This is such a weird film that I had a lot more fun with than I thought I was going to. Um, what's neat is that it stars George Chakiris from, well, When You're a Jet. I definitely can't sing it. West Side Story. But it also has Wings Hauser. Wings Hauser is really good in everything. Extremely good in this. There's a role in it, like small role for Darcy DeMoss as well. And if you've never checked out Pale Blood, put that on your must-do list. We followed up with Patty Hearst. This was a real kind of a shocker to see them come out with at the time because although they had put out some like pretty cool releases, Patty Hearst is Paul Schrader film, and it's something that you expect a Criterion to put out, but Vinegar Syndrome were like hitting that like okay they started earlier with some like kind of indie releases, some more like serious releases, things like Buddies, which I don't yet have in my collection. But Patty Hearst was one of these swing for the fences type where like we can get serious when we want to. One of the films that changed it all for Vinegar Syndrome was the next one I'm going to show you. It was their next 4K release, and this was the 4K release that would definitely make a difference for their company. It was cool. It was 80s. It was downright rad. Rad was a film that had no right being as good as it was because it is super silly, but it is super cool. Directed by Hal Needham, a guy mostly known for like the stunt work stuff that is done. It was just a different film, and the fact that they got this one and got the 4K edition of it is just amazing. It's long out of print. Like now, you'd have to go grab the Mill Creek edition. Are releasing their mono steelbook of it. And Rad, if you're an '80s movie fan, belongs in your collection. One of my personal favorite Vinegar Syndrome releases that they ever did is this one right here, Blood Games. This is one of the best slipcovers he ever put out. I keep saying that, but look at it. Look how gorgeous this slipcover is. And it is a fan-freaking-tastic film. If you've never seen Blood Games, this is not just a cool actioner. This is not just a fun little tense thriller. This is the coming out of what would become one of the biggest female stunt workers of all time. Next up is Old Dracula. It is a lot of silly kind of non-PC humor, but it is fun, and yeah, take it for the time that was done. And David Niven is really good in this, and I enjoyed the hell out of Old Dracula. One of the releases by Ruben Galando Jr. Grave Robbers is an excellent Friday the 13th kind of like supernatural knockoff. If you haven't seen it, you really, really should. This is such an excellent film, and it was a revelation for me to discover that one. I was so excited, and I couldn't wait to get more of his work. Another fantastic little one with almost stars just really two people from the entirety of the film, Malcolm McDowell and Madeline Smith in The Collar. If you've never seen The Collar, why haven't you seen The Collar? This is a great movie. It is a wonderful showcase of two actors at their absolute height. And if you say you guessed the ending to this one, you're lying. Because it's pretty impossible. We followed up with Pandemonium, which is silly. It is silly fun, and it's not going to hit for everyone. And it initially didn't hit for me, but again, it's one of those that I super enjoyed when I saw it. My kitty cats are going wild over there. When I saw it, and I'm like, am I gonna like this? Is this gonna be my thing? Because I'd seen it before, and I was like, on a kind of a shoddy release. It wasn't. I was iffy on it. I was a Smothers Brothers fan, but still, it took me a while to get into Pandemonium, but I eventually really turned out to like it. Fade to Black is is a favorite release of mine. How much did I like this one? Well, when they announced it, they announced a limited edition T-shirt that was only available during the weekend of its announcement. I bought that T-shirt and Fade to Black, pre-ordered it right away. When Fade to Black came out, there was a second T-shirt that came out for it. I bought that one as well. It is a great release. It is not a slasher film like people often think it is. It is a thriller. It is a wonderful film that has a great, great cast. Dennis Christopher, who of course was amazing in Breaking Away. We got an early appearance from Mickey Rourke in here, and just such a fun release. And if you've never seen it, you do it yourself. Check it out. We're up to another Ruben Galando Jr. You gotta look at these two covers here. And this one here is Cemetery of Terror, and it is definitely super cool. If you've never seen it, I'm not going to ruin it for you because it is a lot of fun and you definitely have to check it out. From one like big director to another, we're at Jose Ramon Larraz, and it is Rest in Pieces. Again, I had a lot of fun with this one. Let me know if you like this one because it's one that I did enjoy, and it had one of those soap actors in it that I knew, so that actually heightens the enjoyment for me because I'm a big soap opera fan. The best Christmas horror movie that nobody talks about is Deadly Games or Dial Code Santa Claus or one of the many other titles that it has. If you've never seen this, what's taking you so long? This is such a good film with a haunting song by Bonnie Tyler that you're going to remember along with the movie. It gets often compared to Home Alone because it's also about a little boy that's home, kind of alone with his grandfather that really can't help out. But in this one, it's not the wet bandits with two guys just kind of trying to rob a place. No, these guys, this guy, so it's one guy, he's a psycho, and he's out to take out the kid and his grandfather he's not out to steal, he's out to murder. It's a great film. Next up is Silent Madness, a fantastic 3D one. I got the 3D t-shirt, this one as well. It comes with real 3D as well as Anogif 3D, and as well as, and I'm not sure if I got them in here because I might have put them away. No, got them put away. Now it comes with 3D glasses as well. I try to keep those in a special place so that they don't get bent up. Followed up with the final Ruben Galando Jr. one, at least for now, Don't Panic. They actually had some really cool dinosaur pajamas that I really regret not picking up. But man, was it a cool release. Got to be very careful with the next one because there is a bit of nudity on the cover, which I got to cover up, and it's Hitcher in the Dark. If you haven't seen it, again, I love this film by Umberto Lenzi. And making sure I got the director's name right. I really enjoyed this one with the fantastic film with Josie Bissett. And we followed up with a film that a lot of people hate, but I don't get the hate on this film. I really don't, because I really enjoyed The Fear. I thought it was an incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend that you check it out. Next up, we have a film that isn't just a cool film, it's a revelation because when I saw this film, I saw it on VHS and it was so dark I could barely see anything that was going on. Seeing who done it and actually being able to understand what the hell I was watching was absolutely revolutionary, and I 100% recommend that you check this one out. It is such a cool release. Followed it up with one that was a cable mainstay, but not where I was at. So it didn't have a lot of like the same kind of emotional resonance that had with other people. But Surf 2, there is no Surf 1, so you don't need to look for it. That's kind of the joke. Was one that with Eric Stoltz, and there's a couple really clever sequences in this one, but I think it translated more for people over that were over in America as opposed to me, who grew up in Canada, and where Surf 2 wasn't as big of a release. Next up is one of my two least favorite Vinegar Cinema releases, to be completely honest with you, and I like to do that, and that is the Cardona Collection. It has a magnet, so you can stick it onto your refrigerator if you got a magnetic refrigerator. And there's a second Cardona release, which is a lot better than the first one. I will give that credit. This one here has Treasure of the Amazon, Triangle, The Bermuda Mystery, and Cyclone. Not three of my favorite releases, and for a long time it was an ongoing joke about like how much I hated the Cardona Collection. I don't quite hate it as much as I would put on. It was a running joke for a reason, but never one of my favorites. Alien from LA is a very different cover and very much seems more like it is a harder cover, but it seems like a more of a standardish slipcover per se. But I really like the way this was done. And this was a movie that I initially, when I was younger, I didn't like this. And I think it was because I was younger, had a Kathy Ireland, and I wanted to see some Kathy Ireland nudity coming out of the screen, which I wasn't going to get, but I enjoyed the hell out of this. There's very few Vinegar Cinema releases that I've got in my collection that I haven't watched. Through the Fire is one of those. I actually planned on watching this one later on this week. So if you know Through the Fire, maybe you can tell me. It's one of the few that I got and wasn't able to get down and watch. The Lamp I'd seen before from Scream Factory under a different title. I think it's called The Outing. Oh yeah, The Outing right there. But it was really cool to get this here release of it, and was so stoked to have like this loaded release because the one I got is just like pretty much a standard release with no special features. Killer's Delight was a viewer's delight and one that I enjoyed the hell out of. This is John Carlin, I'm pretty sure, is the star of this one. Yep, John Carlin is so good in this movie, by the way. And another appearance by George Buckflower and Susan Sullivan. We get to another 4K, and one that I knew I was going to like, but it was a very different film than I thought it was going to be. I ended up liking it better than I thought I was going to, and that is Terminal Island. This is such a fun release. We got a young John Selleck here. We got a young Roger E. Mosley. Both of them would go on to be in, of course, Magnum P.I. And just a great, great film that not enough people talk about. I love the look of this next one. It is a directorial effort by writer Norman Mailer, and it's known for having this kind of this gif of like the worst line reading, but the film itself is actually really, really good, and it is one of Wings Hauser's best performances in my opinion. And we got Ron O'Neal and Isabella Rossellini in Tough Guys Don't Dance. Way, way better than this should be. Look at this. It looks like it's done like one of those like dime store novels that you'd pick up in your local pharmacy or at your or at an airport somewhere. And I absolutely adore the way this is done. Next up is one that is not as sleazy as I thought it was going to be, but it's still a lot of fun. And that is Girls School Screamers. If you haven't seen it, again, I enjoyed it. Again, another one that comes off to be, I guess, a bit sleazier than you think it's going to be. Andy Lee's Meat Pies, and some people don't like this because of the fact that it's not as sleazy or out there as the title lets off. But yeah, I enjoyed it. One of the best releases that year was Shallow Grave. I didn't see anybody that had anything bad to say about Shallow Grave. There's a reason for that. It's a really freaking good film and one hell of a watch. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do so and do so as soon as possible. Another double feature and a really good one. It is a 80s Giallo one and it is 80s fashion Giallo. What do I mean? Well, Nothing Underneath and Too Beautiful to Die were was a double feature done, and both were kind of set in the fashion industry. It's really really good. It's a 2 disc set, and I recommend you check this out. Next up was the Seven knockoff Resurrection, starring Christopher Lambert, but not just any Seven knockoff. It's a really good one. It has Russell McKay directing it, and what does that mean? It means beautifully fantastic visuals. Followed up with The Devil's Story, and Devil's Story is insane. It works because of the lead actress and the insanity and weirdness of it. The director, who thinks he's the reason that it works, is the reason that some of it actually doesn't. But I actually had a lot of fun with this. Your mileage may vary. I'm going to say something that's going to make one viewer extremely happy, and that is I rewatched this recently. You know what? I really dug it. Yeah, Blaze was a lot better than I initially thought it was going to be. And I didn't finish it the first time. I was like, it's like a Jaws knockoff. But yeah, just when I thought was safe to putt, it's a bit hilarious. All right, so next up is another one that I will be honest with you, I have not watched. So there's a couple in the release here that I haven't watched. If I haven't watched them, I can't tell you that I did. And next up is The Laughing Dead. Have not watched this one, so you guys can let me know. Dario Argento's Trauma is an often underlooked and definitely underrated film in the Argento collection. If you haven't seen it, you really really should. It's a very earlier role for Asia Argento too. My all-time least favorite film, and this is a me thing. This is not an everybody thing. This is a very personal me thing, and I'll explain to you why. Is Ebola syndrome. It's the first Category 3 film put out by Vinegar Syndrome, and there's a lot, and I mean a lot of Category 3 fans out there that were extremely excited to see this one get released. This movie has a lot of people having seizures, and I happen to be an epileptic, so was not an easy watch for me. Another 4K release and another really cool one. It is Ticks. Man, I love the way this was done. It's got a great cast. It's a fun little monster film, and I enjoyed this way, way more than I ever thought I would. Next up is Creature. I got super stoked when this one was being announced, and I'm not sure if I was the only one, but I really, really love this one. I said this was going to be a sleeper. I stand by it, and that is Steel and Lace. Again, I love this movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a really cool title. Two most recent releases. One I haven't seen yet. and one I've seen a long time ago, and I really need to rewatch. So I really need to watch Curfew. I am a massive fan of Carl Richards, especially after watching the newer Dave Gordon Green Halloween films, where she was definitely underutilized. So really interested in checking this one out, and I haven't watched this one as of yet, though this week I will be watching it. And I haven't watched this one yet now, but I really do love Sister Sister. I like these gothic tales, and just this is another one along that lines. It has a fantastic cast in it. It's one that I've seen quite a few times back in the VHS days, and I really look forward to checking it out again. Well, I guess that's, it's not. See, I didn't quite know where to put this one. This is Crypt of the Living Dead, and it is exploitation TV number one. They had a short-lived streaming service. I know it probably fits somewhere. There's another probably title, like little numbering for it, but for right now, it gets numbered on its own, and it's the Blu-ray edition of it, which went out of print pretty quickly, actually. Also, on their fifth anniversary, they put out a series of four, like streamlined sets, 2 disc sets of called 5 films, 5 years. They went from Golden Age erotica to horror and exploitation, and there were four in total. The first one was 5 films, 5 years, Too Naughty to Say No, Hot and Saucy Pizza Girls, Rebel Tales of Canterbury, Prisoners of Paradise, and Dixie Ray Hollywood Star. They're all top quality, high, and 100% should have them on Blu-ray. Next up is the horror and exploitation one with The Mothers, Flesh and Bullets, Hang Up, Dungeon of Harrow, and Murder on the Emerald Sea. Another really great one. Not quite as good as the erotica one, but still a really good set. We follow that up with Dracula Sucks, Corporate Assets, Vixens of Kung Fu, Tropical Desire, and Baby Rosemary. This is a solid, really, really good one with adult cinema and really important, really great adult cinema. Actually love the next one because we got on this Cry Wilderness, the best episode of the new Mystery Science Theater series with Jonah. We have Vamp Hookers, which is a Sirius Santiago film, Evil Come, Evil Go, The Cutthroats by John Hayes. I have the DVD of that one as well, and Teenage Seductress. So a lot of really fun. Teenage Seductress, by the way, stars Sandra Curry there. So it's a really, really cool release that I definitely recommend you check out. And I know you're probably thinking, hey, did he not pick up any of those like limited edition or cool like oversized editions that the Vinegar Syndrome put out? Well, yeah, I did actually. So there was the limited edition for Scanner's Cup and Scanner's Cup 2. Came this big box here with two with like slip covers on the inside, and won't go into them right now, but let's just say they're extremely cool. Love both those films. Also, of course, how could I not pick up Frankenstein or Flesh for Frankenstein, the Paul Morrissey film? And it comes with a 4K of the film and a 3D edition as well. So you're getting like just the ultimate edition of that, and just so well done. And of course, I had to get it. Thriller, A Cruel Picture. Love this film. People were actually kind of like disappointed that it wasn't sleazier. I kid you not, that was people's reaction. But it's an extremely interesting, intriguing revenge thriller that doesn't have to get too ultra sleazy to actually make its point. And Vinegar Syndrome also did box sets, some really good box sets. So let's look at these right now. I don't have them all, but the ones I got we're going to show you right now. This is the first one they did. This is the Amityville set. This is a Curse collection. There are 4 films in total. Amityville Horror, The Evil Escapes, Amityville 1992, It's About Time, Amityville A New Generation, and Amityville Dollhouse. All of these are fantastic. I love absolutely every single one of these, and I'm so glad I got the box set, and I love the way that they do their sets. Next up, the very next release was the Angel trilogy. Yes, I know there's a fourth one that was kind of an HBO pilot, but they're the Angel like other theater or straight to DVD films. We got the Angel Collection era, and we have, of course, Donna Wilkes as Angel in the original. We get the beautiful Betsy Russell in part two, and we have Mitzi Capture in part three. And I really do dig part three. A lot of people rag on part three, but I really enjoy this. And I love the way this opens up. Then came the Forgotten Jelly set. Man, am I a fan of these. There are, I think, 6 now. I only have the first 3. There is the first one right here, which has trauma, police are blundering in the dark, and the killer is one of 13. The second one, which has the girl in room 2A, My Dear Killer, and the French sex murders. It's a very good release. And the third one I really, really enjoyed, Forgotten Jelly, Volume 3. It's got Autopsy, Murder Mansion, and Crazy Desires of a Murder. I think this is a better cover right here, so we're going to put it like that. Follow that up with Televised Terror Volume 1. We have yet to see if Televised Terror Volume 2, which is a shame because this is an excellent release, and if you haven't picked it up yet, I really, really, really recommend that you grab this one. It is a great one. It's got Are You in the House Alone, which literally was the name of a book about TV horror films. Calendar Girl Murders and Child in the Night. Excellent releases, wonderful titles, and things you should definitely check out. As well as this underrated Camille Keaton in Italy set. A gorgeous set, look at this. With Madeline, Tragic Ceremony, Sex of the Witch. 3 really great titles, and you think what in there, but, well, we got some sub-labels to talk about. See, Vinegar Syndrome didn't stop doing just Vinegar Syndrome releases. They put out so much cool stuff, but then they decided to do Vinegar Syndrome Archives. They teased it, they hinted at it for a while, and it came out, and when it initially started especially, it was friggin' glorious. I truly mean that in the best possible way. See, their very first release was Savage Harbor, aka Death Feud, aka Savage Harbor. This was a really fun release. If you haven't checked it out, yeah, you gotta check it out. It's really good. Next up was, and this one went out of print really quickly, and this is Evil Town. Think of it like Evil's the Night. It's kind of like the alternate edition version of that. And I love this movie. I really, really love the fact that they put this out. So you haven't seen it, definitely check out Evil Town. Number 3 was a Rick Sloan release, and yes, it's Vice Academy 1, 2, and 3. I would love to see them do 4, 5, and 6 to finish it off because there's 6 of these in total. And we got Ginger Lynn on one side, and we have Linnea Quigley on the other. Such a fun release. Next up was another that I really enjoyed, and that is Savage Dawn. This has, I think this is with Elizabeth Caton in it too, actually. Yeah, and Karen Black, Lance Henriksen, George Kennedy, Richard Lynch, William Forsythe. What a cast, what a film. It's grown on me a bit, but it's still not one of my favorite releases, and that is Hell Riders. I really got to rewatch this one because there is a sort of like a kitschy campiness to it that I do like, and I think that I kind of watched it at the wrong time, and I got to rewatch it because it has some people that I truly adore in this film. Next up was Dr. Jekyll's Dungeon of Death, and a lot of people didn't like this one, but me and my better half absolutely adored it. LA Wars would come next, and man, did I enjoy the hell out of LA Wars. This was way, way better than I thought it was going to be, and truly loved it. As I did with Spellcaster, with the fantastic Adamant, and this is an Empire Pictures release. Pretty sure, because I think it's pre-full moon. Oh, by the way, one of the neat things, I'll check on one of the later ones. I'll let you know what one of the neat things about having these releases are, and it's not just a hard box cover. I know I got some of them put away, but I want to see if I left any of them out. Next up is the one that stars Elizabeth Caton, and I was a massive fan of hers. And if you've never seen Necromancer, it's worth checking out. It's not the one that has it. Followed it up with Martial Law and Martial Law 2 Undercover. This is when Cynthia Rothrock stuff started to come in here. And although she's like the secondary character, not the lead, she's really good in it. Action USA was another fantastic one. It was done by stunt people and it really, really shows. This is the one that I really didn't get into, and I think I got to rewatch this one because I was kind of meh on it when I watched it. I really found it hard to get through, but it's got Donald Pleasance, and I think I got to give this one another chance. House of Usher was probably my least liked one that I'd seen so far. Grave Sequence was one that I was so excited to get because I remember the poster for this one, never been able to rent it, so that was always kind of a cool release. Alley Cat, just absolutely stunning artwork and a really fun film. Fun in all the wrong ways and all the right ways is the next one here, and that is Champagne and Bullets. Oh my God. I have yet to show that one to my better half, but I really need to. Whatever It Takes stars Fred Williamson, Don Drag Wilson, and Andrew Dice Clay. How can you not pick up their release? And I have yet to watch this one. I've yet to open up this one. And it looks like the poster was put on the outside of the release. See, every one of these here came with a full-size, really cool poster. So let's show you what one of those looks like. Since this one's already outside. So there's the Whatever It Takes artwork. It takes and the really cool new artwork, which is the one you put up. Definitely a cool film that it's probably a lot of super cheesy, but who doesn't want like a super cheesy fun film like that? Let's see. I put it in right, just want to make sure. Next up is another one that I haven't yet got around to checking out because I just recently got it, and that is The Grave. I actually don't know what the poster is like in The Grave because the artwork on the back really was kind of minimal. I don't think that's going to be there for the alternate poster art. So let's find out together. Actually, kind of excited to check this out. And The Grave has an amazing cast too. We're looking at Craig Schaefer, Josh Charles, Keith David, Eric Roberts, Gabrielle Anwar, Donnell Logue, Giovanna Ribisi, and Anthony Michael Hall. So definitely a loaded cast. Here we go. Some secrets you take to the grave. And let's check out this poster together. So here we go. What's the poster on this? And it is actually kind of like that, but just a better version of it. Good friend. It is so. Yeah, it's an unusual poster. But definitely have to check that out. The poster would definitely not say on the film, but I watched the trailer for the film and was really intrigued by it. Seemed definitely like my type of thing. Next up is the Tiger Claws trilogy of films. Got the beautiful Cynthia Rothrock in here as well. With one that I bought, the 10 out of 10. I'm kind of glad I did because although I did joke about like the Gilio Mearhey films, they are a lot of fun, and I did enjoy watching them when I was younger than I am now. There's TC 2000. They're fairly, like cheapies, but they're fun films. And of course, the one movie Cynthia Rothrock did was she did nudity. So gotta love that because it's sworn to justice. And it's a very different film for her. It's lighter on the type of stuff that you normally know her for, but it does have, well, she tries to do more of her acting chops and also the other stuff. We also did, and it's ongoing, the Vinegar Syndrome Ultra. So Vinegar Syndrome Ultra would do special massive collector's editions of films that they think really deserved it. And they started off with a film that I agree really deserved it. That is Beastmaster. Beastmaster is an excellent film by Don Coscarelli, who did Phantasm. It opens up, and we see more artwork on the inside of here. It comes out like this. Yes, as always, there's an amazing Vinegar Syndrome slipcover on the inside with even more artwork. It comes with a booklet, like a 40-page booklet with some great stuff on the inside here as well. And if you look in the back of that, there's even more fantastic art. So just incredible stuff. And I love Beastmaster, so this was a no-brainer for me to grab that one. Now, I wasn't as sure on the second one, and when I got it, I'll be honest with you, still not one of my favorites that he put out. But Six String Samurai was an unusual release for Vinegar Syndrome and for this line. It still seems to be kind of the oddest one out of the line, but I am glad I picked it up. One that was sent my way, and I was super glad that I did it because I loved the film, especially when I was a child, was Cloak and Dagger. It is such a good movie, and I just gotta open this up to show you guys kind of what it looks like. If you've never seen this, you really gotta see Cloak and Dagger. It's a lot of fun. Good for the young and the young at heart. They also did the Vinegar Syndrome kind of VSPs, Vinegar Syndrome Pictures, I think, release where they did some different type releases that they had something to do with, things that actually went to like a theater, whether they got a limited release or not. So there is a film done back in the 80s with the soundtrack completely gone. They have people come in and like redo, like redub the entire thing and put it out. And it was New York Ninja, which became a quick cult hit. It's a lot of fun. They even got its own like comic book sequel. And again, it is done with one of those like a book on the inside and interior artwork, very much like the VSUs. But the next release wasn't. The next release, though, is a really good film, and I enjoyed this way, way more than I thought I was going to, and that is Censor. This is an excellent film. What's really neat about this is when you open it up, because it's about this girl that she's a censor, and she starts to see she sees these films, and something happened to them in one of the films looks like her sister, and goes from there. So these are a couple of the fake movies that she has to deal in. So there you go. That's my entire Vinegar Syndrome release. Sans, of course, the DVDs, which we'll do in a separate video because I want to deal a bit with more of the peak rams and stuff like that. And let's be honest, that's definitely a Crimson Cult release. For the longest period of time, my channel really, really went into the Vinegar Syndrome. I was legit. That was my nickname. It was Mr. Vincent, and I really enjoyed that. In like more recent years, I may have moved away from like some of the Vinegar Syndrome stuff, or haven't covered it or talked about it as much as I used to. That's because, in all honesty, there's some releases, later ones, was kind of like, did I want that, or was it like last year was more of like some releases were hit me stronger than others. When they went to the Cat 3 stuff, that didn't really was really stuff that I really got into. But I'm really starting to see some releases coming from Vinegar Syndrome this year that I'm extremely excited about. some stuff that makes me want to really dive back into it again. And who knows, maybe by as we go through this, the Mr. Vincent title, along with Mr. Called Cinema and Mr. Whatever, will come back and make its way back into the channel one more time. But as always, that's kind of up to you, because that wasn't something that wasn't a moniker that I took it myself. Anyway, that was a moniker that was given to me. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I really enjoy doing these videos, and I love doing these collection overviews and really talking about and discussing and just reliving some of the joys of this, because for me, like, I've curated this to be pretty much stuff that I really want, stuff that, as you can tell, a lot of the stuff as we've talked about it, it's not like I've watched it once. Like, I've watched a lot of these, and Vinegar Syndrome stuff especially, like, several times. And out of everything here, I think there may have been like 3 or 4 out of all those titles that I have yet to watch. So thank you again, and I will see you next time, right here in the cult of cinema, or in this case, the cult of Vinegar Syndrome Cinema. See you later.